Welcome!
What's happening Wednesday on Tuesday before it's Wednesday again?
Before it's Wednesday again. Okay, so this is the officially unofficial geek channel. I am Carrie. As always, this is
Joe.
Joe. Bizarro Fett. So here's the thing, guys. We were supposed to do this last week.
Yeah, but then I got the super flu.
He had like a stomach flu type bug type thing and did not feel like doing this. He gave me the go ahead to record, but I didn't want to do it without him because Joe is a part of this particular weekly show, semi-weekly show. But here's the thing: we had talked about the last time. We're going to watch The Crow. We're going to talk about The Crow. And so we're going to talk
about The Crow.
So it's one of my absolute favorite movies.
I like it.
Yeah. And it's not like it's the like favorite comic book adapted movie. No, it's up there on like one of my favorite movies.
I used to like it a lot more in the 90s. I still like it a lot. It's just I liked it a lot more in the 90s.
In the 90s when it first came out. Like, how did you see it in the movie theater?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too. Like, that's kind of like my personal history with it. Like, you're a few years older than me, but like...
I think that's around 16 when it came out.
Yeah, so I was definitely underage to get into a movie theater without my parents, because it is a rated R film.
I don't remember them carding me. I just remember going in.
So, like, my sister took me to go see it. And, so she took me to go see it, but she, it was this movie theater that was notorious for not carding people. Movie came out in 1994. So, for those of you that don't know much about The Crow, first of all, I'm sorry. Secondly, The Crow is a movie based off of the James O'Barr comic masterpiece of the same name, The Crow, which is about a man who comes back from the dead, guided by a crow. And the comic book version, guided by a crow and the Skull Cowboy.
Yes.
Though, like, it seems like the Skull Cowboy is really more like just a
nuisance.
I wouldn't say nuisance. The Skull Cowboy is kind of like, razzing him.
Yeah.
Nuisance. He's but okay, he's part of it. And the man.
It's been a long time since I read it, but I remember him being kind of a nuisance.
You remember the Skull Cowboy being, an asshole, right? Like, I'm not the only one that remembers this. Like, one of the things he basically says to Eric is one of the first things he talks about with her. You didn't do enough. So what didn't Eric supposedly do enough for? Okay, so here's the deal. The reason why Eric is coming back from the dead is to avenge the death of his fiance, his girlfriend, and Shelley, right? So it's what happens is they get stranded on the side of the road and a gang comes and kills her. Okay, so the rest of the book is him avenging her death. And a little bit of the backstory in regards to James O'Barr's writing is what happened in his life is basically it inspired The Crow because
his fiancé was killed by a drunk driver, right?
Yeah, his fiancé was killed by a drunk driver. Right after his fiancé was killed by a drunk driver, he entered the military, actually, and he did a stint overseas. While he was in the military and he was overseas, he started writing The Crow. And it was one of these things where it was meant to be something to try to help him heal his own little version of therapy. And there are interviews out there where he talks about how it actually didn't help very much. By the end of it, he still felt pretty bad, if not worse. But what, his pain gave us was
a very good story.
A very good story. A beautiful story of loss and love and revenge. When it comes right down to it, it is a love story. It's a revenge story. It is a gothic story. It is anything that you could ever fucking ask for, I think, in a passionate film. Passionate comic book. And then, in turn, becomes a film. Miramax Pictures. They did it. They had problems with budgeting. Didn't
this film have a lot of problems?
It had a lot of problems. Right away, you had people like, okay, let's back up for a second. Let's talk about first the star of the film. Because there are a couple different ways to segue into the problems involving the film by talking about him first, and that is Brandon Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Lee was a action movie star, and he is also the son of the famous Bruce Lee. If you're a fan of Bruce Lee, and by extension, Brandon Lee, his son, you are pretty much aware, if only in small amounts.
I think pretty much everybody knows the history of this movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's notorious.
It's notorious. Well, I'm talking about the Lee curse.
Oh, yeah. I don't believe in curses, but...
Yeah, okay. Well, this is kind of how we segue into talking about the different things that happen. Well, right away, the studio and people involved in the film, when people found out it was going to be made, they found out who was going to star in it, they started sending messages and letters talking about, oh, your film is going to be cursed. People are going to get hurt. All these things. Which is really spooky.
Considering what happened.
Considering, even, before we even get to the really sad part, we have the first day.
The electrocution?
The electrical people getting hurt.
Yeah.
By first day, someone gets horribly hurt.
Yep.
It didn't start out on the right foot. And there's the obvious thing that happens, and that is the death of Brandon Lee in filming of the movie. Which, really good, and it's not too long to watch. A little show about it, actually, on Shudder. Cursed Films. There's an episode in the first season of Cursed Films that talks primarily about The Crow and the filming of the movie. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar about how stuff like this is done, you don't film a film in order. So you film as locations are available, time period is available, people are available. That's how you do it. And what happens is, and they talk about this in the show in greater detail, near the end of filming, they went to film the scene, a notorious scene, it's a flashback scene, where you see how Shelley and Eric die. Which in the movie is in their apartment. They're fighting tenant eviction in their neighborhood, and the gang comes and fights them there at their apartment. So the scene basically is when Eric walks in originally in the movie, you see what you end up seeing in the movie, guys, is the knife throw. Okay? Here's the thing. There's a lot of speculation, over the years on exactly how it happened, when it happened, what was that shot. The shot that ended up happening was Michael Massey as Fun Boy shoots a prop gun, and it's that moment when Eric is coming into the apartment. What you end up seeing on the film, you actually watch in the produced film, is they went back to the original idea of the knife throw. There was no shot that happens. But what happened was they went to do another viewpoint to use the gun, and Michael Massey's Fun Boy's prop gun had a projectile lodged in from the barrel from another scene, and it hadn't been cleared. And that projectile, even though it was not a live round with gunpowder and all that stuff, it ended up getting dislodged by the gun firing the blank, and it now became obviously a projectile hurtling towards Brandon Lee, and it got him. And that is exactly the moment where Brandon Lee is killed. This is why one of those things, like when you hear about the shooting that happened with the Alec Baldwin movie Rust, which I believe they're not even going to finish because of when you hear about if you don't know much about it, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but there's a lot of talk about cutting corners and not being properly done and everything like that, involving production of Rust. And that's one of the things that people will harp on, and that is basically part of the problem that happened that caused the death of Brandon Lee. And they were near the end of filming, so what happened is once they get over the I don't know if you could say really get over it, but once they get to the point where they can work again. His wife
and stuff say that they wanted him to finish.
Well, they were ready to go home. His fiance.
Yeah.
Eliza.
His mom and fiance.
Eliza and his mother contacted them. They were ready to pack up and go home. Mm-hmm. The whole film, and just not finish it. But they were like, okay, is there some way you can finish it? Because he was so proud of what he was doing. This was supposed to be his breakout role. That was supposed to show that he could do more than just punch and kick. And so in honor of him, and because it meant so much to those people in his life, they worked out a way to finish it, which basically means a couple things. One, no Skull Cowboy, which is unfortunate because Michael Berryman was going to play the Skull Cowboy, and if you have no idea who Michael Berryman is, oh my God, look him up. Let's not take too much time, gushing about Michael Berryman here, but look him up, and it's worth it. He was going to be playing the Skull Cowboy. He had already been fitted with the costuming. He had already done a little bit of filming, but not so much that they were able to keep it in the film. The other thing that happens is the makeup artist gets called back, and they decided to, because a lot of the shots that they had were non-speaking shots and that kind of thing. They took his stunt double, and the makeup artist came back and molded a mask to put on the stunt double to look like Brandon Lee. So, are you gonna sneeze? No.
I was.
You were? Oh. He had molded a mask to look exactly like Brandon Lee and put it on stunt double, which that story, when he tells it in that Cursed Films, like, he got to work very closely every day with Brandon Lee, because every day you had to put on some variation of that makeup.
Yeah.
And he had different plans on everything. It shows it in the, and
May I say the makeup in that movie is freaking awesome. I love how, like, throughout time it's just getting more and more worn off of him.
And how that was planned.
Yep.
Yeah, and how he shows his like, seriously, Cursed Films is a great TV show, like, on Shudder, because it's like this one episode has to do with the crow, but you've got, like, other stuff. Like, there's one about the Wizard of Oz that's really good. There's one about the Serpent and the Rainbow. There's, like, a few different ones that are really great. And but you see, like, the different progression and how he timed it based on what's happening in the film. Because, like, it was not going to be logical to have Eric Draven do all the things he does in that film and have it still looking as pristine as that first moment where he has the makeup on and the music is Burned by the Cure is playing, and, like, then he's standing in the window and the lightning flashes. Yeah, there's no way that it was ever... God, I get the chills just thinking about that shot. You know what I mean? And not only is it a great story, but visually it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
I really just... I freak out about this movie, you know, and I'm trying to reel myself in so that I don't, you know, go too off of the... too off in La La Land. So the movie is a little bit different than the book, and basically, but the basic premise is there. You have Eric Draven coming back from the dead. He's in limbo, right? And it's something I was mentioning to Joe before. I'm not sure, like, everyone gets the idea that when Eric Draven comes back from the dead, he's in limbo. He's been separated from Shelley for a year.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't moved on like Shelley has moved on.
I don't think he was anywhere for a year, really. He's just...
Yeah.
I don't think he existed.
And so his soul was not able to move on.
Because I think right when he comes back, he screams like he just died.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, that's what that scream is for. That's what I think. It's like in his head, he just died.
Wow. That's crazy. But
Shelley just died.
Yeah. But he kind of has to look around and see that it's been a while.
Yeah. He gets the point that it's been a year later. I mean.
Wow.
But right away, right when he comes back, that's how it is. He thinks he just died.
Wow. Okay, I never saw it that way before.
He screams and stuff like he's in pain.
Well, I imagine, you know, it's probably pretty difficult to dig yourself out of a grave.
That and just, that's how I would like to believe it. He just died in his head.
Wow. So he cannot rest. For whatever reason, he can't rest.
Well, yeah, because his loved one was killed.
Yeah. Raped and killed. Because one of the things you notice is that when he comes out of the grave and he starts actually interacting with people, is that it's never about him. Like, it's never about him. It's whenever he's interacting with Officer Albrecht, when he's interacting with any of the gang members that he goes after. Like, it's all about Shelley. It's all about Shelley. And it's like, to me, it's like, I think he cares about what happened to him, but he could give a shit less that he died.
Yeah.
It's all about her.
Yeah.
And so another difference between the book and the movie is that he doesn't really actively interact with the crow, like vocally.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's all like a visual thing. Like, he can see what the crow sees. And in the book, there's actual, like, vocal interaction between him and the crow. So he gets out of the grave. He goes to, works his way back to his apartment, finds some threads on the way, some shoes, that kind of thing. He makes his way back to his apartment, finds the rest of his clothes. He does the makeup. The absolutely wonderful soundtrack for this fucking movie.
His kitty's still alive.
His kitty, well, come on. The cats are survivors. Like, she probably ran around, finding all the mice and all that shit. She keeping it, she's keeping it real, So Gabriel, yes, is still there. And he is remembering everything. He realizes what's going on, and he does the irony mask makeup on himself. And then that shot that I mentioned earlier, the crow is perched on his shoulder and the lightning.
It's a pretty iconic shot.
It's just amazing. Paired with that soundtrack, I can't even. It's one of the best soundtracks. It's one of the best soundtracks. I think the soundtrack to City of Angels is up there as well.
It's a little bit better.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I'll just come out and admit, I prefer the sequel. I'm one of the very rare ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iggy Pop, huh?
Yeah.
It's all about Iggy Pop for you.
Iggy Pop.
I love Iggy Pop too. And I love...
He dies such a weird way too.
And I gotta tell you, I absolutely, some of the public here knows, if they've been following me for a while, my absolute love of Hole. And they have...
Yeah, Gold Dust Woman, that's right. That's
exactly, yes. That absolutely wonderful version of Gold Dust Woman.
It is a good cover.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because she is a long-term fan of Stevie Nicks. So, yeah.
Who isn't a fan of Stevie Nicks? Let's just be honest here.
I
come from a super punk background, and I'm a huge fucking Stevie Nicks fan.
Yeah. Because Stevie Nicks is just Stevie Nicks.
She's just Stevie Nicks.
But anyways, Stevie Nicks is a conversation for another time. Little girl, Kaylee has a poofy tail. Yeah.
Yeah, something happened upstairs.
So, soundtrack, absolutely stunning. Also absolutely stunning, that second City of Angels soundtrack.
But the movie stopped there.
Just don't go past that. So he realizes what's going on. He's going out hunting. So one of his first stops is the character of Tintin.
Tintin.
Yes. So he gets into a knife fight with Tintin and wins.
Yeah.
Victims.
Aren't we all?
And he's like, you know what? I need a jacket. So he takes Tintin's jacket.
Which makes him look 10 times cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was the first moment you really got the whole, like, it's all about Shelley thing, because he's just like, I want you to tell me a story about a man and a woman in a loft a year ago. And that he talks about what they did to her. and then like he gets into a fight with Tintin, and then he's able to come
you
back.
You can see how much madder he gets when he mentions her too. Like he's like, "Yeah, I shanked her real good." Like,
I shanked her pink ass, and she loved it. Yeah, sorry guys, that is the actual like. that's the fucking words to the movie.
I didn't feel like quoting it.
That's the actual quote of the movie. I apologize, but if you've never watched it, that is the actual quote from the movie, and it amplifies what's happening for him. So he fights Tintin, kills him. Victims aren't we all? And then he leaves that blood crow on the side of the building. It's Tintin's blood.
Write it up as graffiti.
What the hell is that? I call it blood, detective. I'm sure you write it up as graffiti.
I love
Ernie Hudson.
I love Ernie Hudson in this movie.
Ernie Hudson is definitely something you gotta mention. We're gonna put a pin in him though, because we're not quite to Ernie Hudson yet. Eric's next stop is
Gideon's Pawn Shop.
Gideon's Pawn Shop. Fuck off, we're closed.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is Gideon.
Oh my god, when he's sitting there, Mr. Gideon, you're not listening to me. Oh my god, when he's like, there came a
You heard me rapping, didn't you?
Yes.
You heard me?
Oh my god. We watched this a few days ago. Did I not, like, say that whole scene, like, word for word with the fucking movie? Oh my gosh. I had to reel myself in, or else I was going to get real annoying real quick. But when he's sitting there and he goes and he finds, the reason why he's there is he wants to find Shelley's engagement ring.
And where the rest of Fun Boys.
And he wants information. Yeah. Where the rest of T-Bird's helpers are. And then he blows up the shop. And that's one of your favorite lines. Where you were saying that when we were watching it. He's like, "You're street grease. That's nothing. That's all you are." Street grease, motherfucker. And in the scuffle, Eric knocked over a bunch of gasoline, and he has a gun, and he grabs a guitar, and of course, because Eric Draven's a musician, and he's yelling insults, and he's like, "They're gonna kill you. You're nothing but street grease," and that kind of thing. And Eric turns around and just kind of like turns his head and says,
"What's that I smell?
Is that gasoline I smell?"
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Oh shit," and like tries to go out the back. When Eric comes out the door, he just turns around and shoots
the rings too.
Shoots the rings.
That he loaded into the shotgun.
Yeah. Every one of these is a life you helped destroy. That's when Officer Albrecht comes.
Yes.
I thought police always said freeze. Well, I said don't move. Don't move or you're dead. And I say I'm dead. And then I move. And so then Eric sits down and has a talk with Officer Albrecht, played by Ernie Hudson. Ernie motherfucking Hudson. Who doesn't love Ernie Hudson?
Ernie Hudson's awesome.
Ernie Hudson is like just magic. He's magic. Okay, so Ernie Hudson, if you don't know who Ernie Hudson is, you do.
I'm sure you've seen Ghostbusters.
I'm sure yeah, right? He's the cool guy on Ghostbusters, okay?
He's the best Ghostbuster. He's the everyman Ghostbuster.
Exactly.
He's not the scientist. He's the everyman. He's hands down the coolest Ghostbuster. Fight me.
I'm not gonna fight you on that one because one, everybody knows Bill Murray's an asshole.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
Everybody knows that Bill Murray's an asshole. Okay, you know what? Harold Ramis is up there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna, yeah.
But anyway, we're not talking about those movies.
We're not talking about that. We are talking about Ernie Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, so Ernie Hudson is the awesome Officer Albrecht. He used to be a detective, and he was demoted to beat cop. And because apparently he stuck his nose where it wasn't wanted.
Yeah. Which means he probably tried to do his job.
Yeah, it means he probably, yeah. So the first moment you see him is when the police are discovering Tintin's body. And that moment with the, I call it blood detective, I suppose you'd write it up as graffiti. That fucking line is just amazing. And then the explosion happens. Well, no, excuse me. No. That doesn't happen yet.
Who cares? We're a little out of order. Who cares?
We're a little out of order, but I believe he
Watch the movie.
meets up with Sarah.
Yeah, they go have a hot dog.
They have a hot dog together. And then the explosion happens and he runs off. Yes. Okay, excuse me. Because we have to talk about Sarah soon. Okay? But he runs off to the explosion and meets Eric, and Eric starts kind of vague booking about who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And admits to killing Tintin, and then disappears. Okay, because Officer Albrecht gets distracted by people going near the explosion, and then he turns around and Eric is gone. And then there's that really fucking iconic line. I think most of the iconic lines come from Ernie Hudson in this film. Like, the big ones that everybody remembers is, like, and then here's one of them. It's the one where it's like, oh, great. Just great. Guy comes out of nowhere looking like a mime from hell, and you lose him right in the open. So, like, I promised people when I said I was going to talk about this that I was going to mention that fucking line. So, there you go. So, let's talk a little bit about Sarah. The actress, God, I forget her name, but right now, Rochelle Davis, I believe is the name.
Does she still do acting work?
No. Well, kinda. Every once in a blue while, you will see her at a con. And she actually left acting because she was still a young girl.
Yeah.
She left acting for quite a while. Because she was upset about the death of Brandon Lee.
Oh, yeah.
And also because at a young age she got recognized way too much, apparently, because of the film and her association with the film, and she didn't want anything to do with it. But apparently she's on social media. She does cons every once in a while now. And every once in a while she will sell her autograph like anybody does that's in her position. Has she done some more acting? Yes. Not a lot. So Sarah is a little girl, and they changed the name from the book to Sarah. And Sarah is a little girl that was friends.
What's her name in the book?
I forget.
I forget too.
I forget, and forgive me, I forget. It has been so long since I've read it.
We need to pick up a copy of that.
We need a new copy of that. Yeah. So Sarah in the movie I believe her name is Rochelle Davis. If I am wrong, I apologize. It is definitely Rochelle something, because I was looking her up the other day. She was friends with Shelley and Eric, and Shelley and Eric took care of her because her mom was not a very good mom. So she actually came across the scene when they were killed and met Officer Albrecht and became friends with him. So they hang out sometimes.
Yeah.
They meet up and have hot dogs and talk. And so you have Eric has started his run to find all the dudes and kill them all. So he has Tintin taken care of. The next up is Fun Boy, Michael Massey. So Fun Boy, Coinky Dink,
who was supposed to be played by
Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop in this, but couldn't do it.
But Michael Massey, also kind of a sad story. He did eventually come back to acting.
Yeah.
But he didn't act for a while because he was traumatized. Because yeah, as the story goes, he was the one behind the gun. Not his fault. Okay. Accidents. This is not his fault at all. But he felt some survivor's remorse on that one. So coincidentally, Fun Boy's girlfriend is Darla, Sarah's mom. Okay. So when Eric comes to Fun Boy's apartment, and Fun Boy is there with Darla, and they are shooting up heroin, or morphine.
Morphine.
It's morphine. They're shooting up, and he shows up, and
because he's all morphine is bad for him.
Yes, good point. So he shows up. He does his thing. He tortures, kills Fun Boy after messing with him for a bit.
And gives Darla a lesson.
And grabs Darla, has her look in the mirror, and says another one of those iconic lines. Look, mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Your daughter is out there on the streets. Go to her. And that's because right before he showed up at Fun Boy's house, he ran into Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And saved her life, basically.
Yeah.
Like, right there. She is riding a skateboard, and she rides out into traffic and doesn't see somebody coming, and he grabs her before she gets hit by a car. And so that's why when he goes there, he's just like, you know what, your daughter's on the streets looking for you. And then he grabs her arm, twists the arm a little bit, and the morphine just starts dripping out of her arm. And he says, morphine is bad for you. And tells her to go. And she runs out and she goes home.
And makes eggs.
And the next morning when Sarah wakes up, and she's got the idea that was Eric as well. Sarah does, because she was like, he says can't rain all the time. And she remembers that. Something he used to say, and it was from one of his songs. She wakes up, and Darla is in the kitchen smoking cigarettes and making breakfast. And she doesn't trust it at first, and like eventually Darla's like, oh, forget it, I was never good at this mommy shit
anyway.
And so then she understands that Darla's actually trying. So at that moment, Sarah then is like, okay, I need answers. And so she goes to the apartment, to Eric and Shelley's apartment, where Eric is sitting there burning photographs. And she comes in and he hides. And she finds Gabriel. And it's really cute because she takes Gabriel home with her. And and she's just trying to talk to Eric, and she thinks that Eric's not, going to come out and talk to her. And she's like, I thought you cared. And then Eric comes out and talks to her and is like, okay, so here's the deal. I do care. But this is how things are now, And so she leaves, and she does meet up with Officer Albrecht again. And this is after Officer Albrecht has already had like a couple run-ins with Eric.
And they start putting two and two together.
And he starts putting two and two together. He realizes that Eric is Eric and has come back from the dead. And so him and Sarah are sitting there, and he's just like, well, if you're crazy, because she's like, oh, if I tell you what's wrong, you're just going to think I'm crazy. And he's like, well, then maybe they'll lock us both up. And so they have this little talk about, what they saw and what they experienced. And next on Eric's hit parade is T-Bird.
Yeah.
And that is an iconic scene where you get a little bit of the flashback where he gets in the car and he kidnaps T-Bird in the car at gunpoint. And iconic cameo happens. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Nope.
Okay, so when you're watching the movie and T-Bird is taken hostage by Eric and forced to drive off, and Skank comes out of the convenience store and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? So Skank runs into traffic and he gets hit by a car.
Yeah.
And like, you've ass hair, you look what you did to my car. That guy. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea.
Henry Rollins.
Really? Did not know that.
It's a dark movie, so you didn't realize it, and it's when Henry still had long hair.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah. So yeah, the that's Henry Rollins. Who is also on the soundtrack.
Yes.
With Rollins Band. Yeah. And so yeah, that's cameo, Henry Rollins.
I had no idea. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll be damned.
So he gets them to the edge of a pier, like one end of a pier, and he's like, I know you. The T-Bird starts to put two and two together, talking to Eric.
This is the really real world. You're dead, man.
This is the real world. There ain't never coming. There ain't no coming back. And then you get to the point where, like, abashed the devil stood and felt how awful goodness is. And he's, like, freaking out and he's, like, crying, and he tosses the can in with him and then, like, sends him on his way. And T-Bird just goes flying off the pier, explodes, and goes into, I'm guessing, a river.
Well, what's in Detroit? A lake.
Is there a lake? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. I've never been to Detroit.
So yeah, it's a lake.
It's a body of water, guys. Okay? So, yeah, bye-bye T-Bird. And that's that moment where he uses the lighter fluid. Mm-hmm. And makes the big lighted crow on the ground. And it's like, okay, so one of the main crew left to go, and then extra credit after that. Okay, so
I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook.
a little worm on a big fucking hook. Well, damn boy, your mama must be damn proud of you.
I love that guy. That guy's a good fucking actor, man.
Top dollar, yes. Oh my goodness, whom just I think steals the show. That guy. Jeez, we haven't. He's shown throughout the movie. We haven't talked about Top Dollar yet. He is the he is the head honcho of crime in that city.
He's the Targaryen of the city because he's banging his sister and in charge.
Yeah, he is in charge, and he's got a very nice display of swords.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Top Dollar that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some good cutlery, you know. Say hello to the last fellow that didn't cooperate with me. Yeah, so Top Dollar is the basically like, yeah, he's top dog. He's top dollar, right? And he has an assistant played by
I don't know.
Tony Todd.
Oh yeah. You're right, Tony Todd. Holy crap, man.
And his
I didn't know what you meant by assistant. That's not really his assistant. That's his door guy. It's his door guy.
It's his door guy. It's his driver. It's the dude that knows shit.
All right, I guess.
It's his assistant.
I guess that's his assistant. I thought you meant his like. I thought when you said assistant, I thought you meant his like girlfriend.
You thought Pauline?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pauline plays the air quotes sister. You also know, if you've watched the second film, she is also, that character is also...
She's the blind lady, right?
Yes, she is the blind lady in the second one. And she gets blinded in the first movie by the crow.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens later. So...
You think she would straighten up her act, man, but no, she's still a bad guy in the second one, too.
No, she is. Yeah. Still a bad guy in that second one. Pity. There's no time for us. Yeah.
Hey, you remember the second one more than I do. I gotta finish watching it.
Well, I mean, pity. There's not enough time for us comes from the first one.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because she says it to him. This is all the power you've ever had, and I have it now. And she's holding the crow in her hand.
Yep.
And that's right before the crow pecks her eye out. Yeah. And I told you guys, I have this film memorized. So, all that's left is Skink. So Skink goes to Top Dollar for help, and Top Dollar is like, you're an idiot. But sure, we're going to keep you here. And, yeah, so they are well aware of what's going on.
Gang meeting, like, yeah, that's right, because he comes in then. They bring him in.
They bring him in, and then, well, no, they bring him in, and he does that whole, like, explain, he like, really quickly and frantically explains what's going on to Top Dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just like, and he takes a drink, and he's like, this is for you, T-Bird, fire it up, fire it up. And then Top Dollar's like, do you think we could just record this and play this back in slow motion? Oh, man. He is a bad guy, but he's got some funny shit lines. So they're like, okay, so like everybody shows up for the planning and everything like that of Devil's Night. And, God, we didn't even mention what Devil's Night is, but fuck it. Devil's Night is the night before Halloween in Detroit. In this story. So all the different, you know, sects of gangs, you know, all the different little precinct bosses.
They answer to Top Dollar.
They answer to Top Dollar, and they all come in, and they've all got they're all
sections.
getting their sections, you know, ready. They're all getting their orders for what to do for the remainder of Devil's Night. And that gets interrupted.
Yeah.
That gets interrupted by our hero.
And a cool music from the Thrill Kill Cult.
Yes. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. A Chicago native.
Yeah. Totally awesome live. I've seen them.
Yeah. I've never seen them live. But from what you were telling me, they are more dance music now.
Oh, yeah. But they're still good. They play their older stuff, too.
Mm-hmm. So...
I've heard they're really awesome live still.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Maybe someday we'll get to see them. So, yeah. Eric Draven, our hero, shows up. And he's like coming in and he's like, okay, so here's the deal. I just want Skank. And Top Dollar's like, well, too bad. You can't have him. Because, and here's the thing, it's not even that Skank is really like all that important to Top Dollar. He wants, he views Eric Draven's activities as a attack on him because it's attacking his city that he controls. And so it's not that Top Dollar really, values Skank at all. Like, dude's name's Skank. Okay?
Yeah, he does.
Nobody really values Skank. The only person ever really valued Skank at all was T-Bird.
And even then,
it was, we keep you around 'cause you're a nice guy and you do what you're told. Like, we like you for your personality, not because of your intelligence. So Top Dollar is like, can't have him. And then, well, I see you've made your decision. Now, let's see you enforce it. And Top Dollar is like, oh, this is already boring the shit out of me. Kill him. So then you have Eric Draven standing on a table and all the gang members pull out guns and they are shooting at him. And he falls down.
Pretty much.
Falls down and tricks them and then starts taking them all out one by one. You will all die. The only person that makes it out of that, the only 3 people that, well, besides the one that's already dead, the only 3 people that make it out of that room are Top Dollar and his sister and Tony Todd's character. That's because they vamoose right away. They're not even doing anything. Yeah. But she has made the connection that the Crow is his source of power. So he finishes his saga. He kills Skank. He's getting all ready to go back into the dirt. And Sarah figures this out. Sarah comes to the graveyard and she's waiting for him to come back. And when he comes back, he's just like, here, like, take Shelly's ring, take it easy, I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye before, but here I can say goodbye now. And so she says goodbye to him and goes to leave and gets kidnapped.
Fucking Top Dollar.
Top Dollar kidnaps her and she yells for help, so of course he comes to help her.
The Crow hears though and shows it to him.
Yeah. And but they figured it out. They know. You kill the Crow, you make the man vulnerable. Okay? You hurt the Crow, you make him vulnerable. The only, that's the only thing that's keeping him from getting killed or hurt is the Crow being in tip-top condition. So when So Eric goes into the church because they drag her into a abandoned church, and he fights with them, but the crow gets shot. The crow is still alive, but it is definitely injured, and when he gets shot, he stays injured. It doesn't close up like before. In the rest of the movie, whenever he got injured, he doesn't have his healing power anymore. So, everything's looking really bad.
Yes, end up fighting.
But good old Officer Albrecht.
Yep.
We love Officer Albrecht throughout the whole entire film. He's amazing. Officer Albrecht shows up because he also, like Sarah, wanted to say goodbye. He is coming to say goodbye. He knew that everything was over. He was coming, hopefully, he said, to pay his respects. And then he comes across all this happening. He finds out that Sarah's in trouble, and he's helping try to save Sarah. But he gets horribly injured as well. And so the crow, like we said, pecks the fuck out of the lady. And Eric ends up on the roof with Sarah and Top Dollar. And he's fighting Top Dollar. And
looks like Top Dollar's going to win.
It looks like Top Dollar's going to win. And Top Dollar's like, well, I admire your spirit, I'm sorry as heck for what happened to you and your girlfriend, but if it, was any consolation, you did put a smile on my face. And Sarah's holding on to the side of the building, and he says, I have something for you. I don't want it anymore. Now, rewind to one of those times that he met up with Officer Albrecht. Officer Albrecht, he finds out, stayed with Shelley in the hospital the whole time. And he has this memory of everything that Shelley experienced and everything he saw. So one of the things that Eric could do is he can transfer memories, kind of like a mind meld kind of thing. So he does that with Officer Albrecht, and he has that memory that wasn't his, it's Officer Albrecht's. And Eric says to Top Dollar when he's on the roof, he's like, I have something to give you. I don't want it anymore. And so he mind melds with Top Dollar, and he's like, 36 hours of pain, all for you, and it immobilizes and puts Top Dollar into shock, and he's able to toss him off the side of the building.
Right onto the fence there.
Right onto the fence, the very sharp fence post. Yes, sirree. Was it a fence?
Yeah, it's like a gate thing.
It's like a gate thingy. Yeah, sure. Either way, he ain't coming back. He's not gonna have anything to say about what happened. And Eric gets Sarah. They start heading down, and he thanks Officer Albrecht because basically his memories were what saved him. And then he's just like, okay, well,
peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys. I gotta go die again. And he's like, stay with him until help arrives. Sarah, stay with him until help arrives, and peace out. And so he goes back to the graveyard. Help arrives. All that happens. Officer Albrecht's going to be A-okay.
He even gets quit smoking because it doesn't taste good anymore.
It doesn't taste good anymore. He's going to quit smoking. His life is going to start all over right here, right now. I think he's going to go back and get his wife back. I don't know about you.
Even if not, maybe he'll get a girlfriend.
Yeah, there we go. Officer Albrecht. Woo! Detroit's most eligible bachelor. So Eric goes back to the graveyard, and he basically lies up against Shelley's gravestone, and the ghost of Shelley
Takes him.
comes to collect him.
Yeah.
She comes and she finds him, and she takes him home. And then
Mission is done.
And then the crow finds the ring and gives it back to Sarah before he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever.
That's the lesson.
That's actually what that's the last fucking line of the entire movie right there. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever, and it's a voiceover by Sarah.
Well, she does the voiceover in the movie anyway.
Yeah. So it's such a good movie, and I love that I still love it as much as that first time I watched it.
I liked talking about it. It made me really want to kind of watch it again since I fell asleep during it.
Well, the thing is like we were originally talking about that we could do the show without, like, I at least had enough of a memory of it that we could do the show without watching it.
I mean, I watched a good portion of it, then I fell asleep.
I did rewatch it in completion, in entirety. This Kaylee is so cute. Our cats are so adorable. But it's one of those things where it's like we've watched it enough that we could do it without even having to watch it again. But we did. We did watch it again.
But I did learn that Henry Rollins in it.
It's the little moment.
Yeah,
and it's the film is so dark that you don't realize it.
I'm mad at Henry Rollins right now, so.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking chill.
Yeah, we typically love Henry in this household. But Henry Rollins was seen and heard lamenting about a certain rock and roll legend that is not a very good guy that died recently. And yeah, so we're a little upset with Henry right now, but Henry overall is a good guy, so we'll probably be okay with him again soon. The thing that really sticks out to me is the fact that this movie, like, gives you, like, basically a little bit of everything.
It's a love story. It's an action movie. It's
A revenge thriller.
It's a revenge thriller. It's supernatural. It's a ghost story. What else is it?
It's everything, man. There's funny moments in it, too.
Yeah.
Like
Skank is hilarious.
No, I think Top Dollar is funny in reacting to everything.
Top Dollar's funny too, but Skank is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I like how they changed the order of how everyone dies from, like, in the comics.
Yeah.
Like, they waited.
I gotta read the comic again. It's been like 20 years.
The thing is like, Top Dollar waiting until the very end to get rid of him. Like, that happens in the movie. It doesn't happen in the books. Top Dollar is killed, like, in the midst of everyone else.
Yeah.
So, that happens. One of the other things that really has intrigued me, and I've really kind of, like, softened to this whole thing about them remaking it. For years, there has been talk of remaking the movie The Crow. And for years, people would be like, okay, we're going to do this, and then it'd fall apart. You know? And it seems to be that at first I was like, no, it's perfect, and shit on Brandon Lee, no, thank you. Like,
that's not what remakes do.
That's, I had to, like, remove the fucking cob from my ass. And and actually be like, you know what? It doesn't change what this movie meant to me, because the movie still exists.
Exactly.
It's not like the movie is going to go away tomorrow. It's not like the movie, you know...
It's not like they updated and then erased, like, the...
Yeah.
I used to be like that, too, with remakes, and then I'm like, wait, why am I like this? It's like, dude, if they remake it, people like it, that's cool. If I like it, cool. Like, if other people like it, cool. Like, it doesn't take away the fact that I have this other movie that I also very much like.
And there's the fact of the matter is that sometimes remakes are better than the original.
Yeah, like The Thing.
Yeah.
And The Blob.
The Thing, The Blob.
And The Fly.
It.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first original is a fucking piece of shit movie.
Though Tim Curry.
I don't give a shit about Tim Curry like other people do.
Tim Curry is awesome. That's your hot take for the week.
Yeah, I don't care. Because I don't like fucking Rocky Horror Picture Show. There's my hot take.
Oh, he doesn't like... Yeah, I know. He doesn't like Rocky Horror. It's okay.
I mean, I don't hate it. It's fun to go to. It's just I don't like it like other people do, where it's like this big, like, to do. I don't like musicals that much.
You like very few musicals.
Yeah, like Poultrygeist. Now there's a musical I'd get behind.
Okay, let's be real though, Joe. Let's be real. Let's be real. Rent.
Yeah, I like Rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be real. White Christmas.
Yes, love it.
Okay. What's another one that we watched that you liked? I had to think about it because, like, Grease.
Grease, I like Grease too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first Grease can go suck a chode.
Yeah, you prefer Grease too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Joe likes very few musicals. But remakes. There's like so many like rumblings of different productions. Like one would start, rumblings would happen, and you'd be like, oh, it's coming, it's gonna happen, and then it would fall apart.
I just don't think they're gonna do it. Period.
No, but they did.
Wait, what? They did? Oh, really?
They remade The Crow. It just recently finished filming.
All right, right on. We're gonna go see that.
Yeah. They did the filming, and I believe it's mostly in Prague.
Oh, really?
Yes, and there's been so many different, times where this has come up. One of the ones that actually, like, before now that intrigued me, that actually had me starting to soften my view towards it, was there was rumblings of it.
What's his name? Was supposed to play?
Who?
The guy from...
Are you talking about... Oh, you're talking about his character name.
Yeah.
No, okay, Jason Momoa.
That's him.
Yeah, there was one where there was actual, like, a little bit of, like, a screen test, makeup test with Jason Momoa, and it exists. You can see it. Mm-hmm. And it did not look half bad. It's one of those, the same situation that we have with Wolverine, where Hugh Jackman is a tall, jacked guy, okay? And Wolverine is a short, jacked guy, and people were like, he's too tall for Wolverine.
But then he did it.
And everyone loved it.
Yeah.
Okay? But it was one of those things where everyone was talking about how Jason Momoa is too big to play Eric Draven, and Jason Momoa is a big 6'4" beefy guy, So yeah, there's something to that, but I also mentioned Hugh Jackman. Okay?
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes.
But it's not him playing it. There was another rumbling of Nick Cave writing the screenplay. That fell through as well.
That part, yeah.
But the one that Bill Skarsgård.
Is that the one that's going through?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Bill Skarsgård, speaking of it.
Nice. He's kind of small, so.
Yeah. And, they just finished filming.
We'll see how it goes. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Like with all remakes nowadays, because you know what? Doesn't change the fact that the other ones exist.
There was one that was happening about 7 years ago that James O'Barr actually was questioned about.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the person that was going to do it had actually taken meetings with James O'Barr.
Cool.
And James O'Barr was actually like, I don't know if this is the same one that eventually got made or if this is one of the ones that fell through. But James O'Barr was like, this person, these people are really excited about this. And the person
I hope that's a Skull Cowboy this time.
I do too.
That'd be a cool take.
So, like, he said that, in particular with the one that he met with, that they had plans to do even though The Crow is not, like, the movie that exists right now, that we all know of, isn't too horribly far from the script, the original source material. This person had plans to
really do some
really do it with the source material.
Cool.
So I wonder if that's kind of what's going to be happening with this new version.
We'll see.
We'll see. But I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. When it comes out,
there's no point not to.
There's no point not to. Why not? It's not going to change the fact that I absolutely love Brandon Lee as the Crow, as Eric Draven. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the whole idea of having, like, how many goddamn Batmans do we have?
A lot.
Yeah.
But we all know who the best one is.
Robert Pattinson.
Yes, sir.
Oh my god, how many subscribers am I going to lose for that comment?
Our pets, Batman for life.
Our pets. And you know what, here's the thing. I know everyone's like, no, Michael Keaton. Guys, no. Rewatch the Batman, please.
Anyway, let's get back to The Crow.
Well, we're done.
Oh, okay. It was a great movie.
It's a great movie. Watch it. I absolutely love The Crow. The Crow, I cannot say it enough, is one of my favorite movies.
The comic book is great. The movie's great. The sequel's great.
The soundtrack.
The soundtracks are great.
Everything.
If I remember, I think the third one is watchable. It's pretty bad, but it's watchable.
I don't go there.
I think it has Kirsten Dunst in it, if I remember correctly.
She is in one of those. There's like 2 or 3 more after.
Yeah, there's one with David Boreanaz as the bad guy and like Edward Furlong.
Ew.
Yeah.
Those. No.
That's the 4th one.
That's an absolute no.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That's an absolute
I watched it just to watch it. It's really bad. But there's a 3rd one that has Kirsten Dunst and some dude as the Crow, and it's not bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's, it is.
It's not good.
It's serviceable as a movie. You're watching it, and you're like, yes, this is a movie.
This falls within the confines of being a motion picture. Yeah. Yes. There are people acting as characters for 20 minutes or more.
Mm-hmm. It's a movie.
There you go. Anyways, guys, that's The Crow for you. I think you guys know how much I love the goddamn film with how much we took to talk about it today. This episode is quite long, and I hope that if you made it through the entire thing, that you enjoyed it and you had fun listening to us talk about The Crow and me gush and Joe gush a little bit, because Joe doesn't really gush.
I do about certain things. Not The Crow.
Not The Crow, but I do. I gush about that. Later on, when it comes to Christmas season, and we start talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
I will gush about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 and 4, which are even better.
I might actually, you know what? Let's talk about this. Let's say that for the Christmas season, at some point, I will go ahead and I will watch. I'm saying it now. I will watch the other Silent Night, Deadly Night movies.
Because I'm rewatching them again because they're amazing.
But we're going to put an asterisk here. We're not going to watch the first one.
No.
Because if you watch the second one, it's like watching the first one. Because they do a really long recap. A really long recap of the first one. And then they talk about, everything involving, the other guy and how he had I got a job and then he, you know, talks about garbage day and all those. But I'll go ahead. I'll watch the other ones with you.
Cool.
And we'll talk about them, but not right away because despite the fact that it's November 1st, it is not Christmas time yet.
It is. It's Christmas time.
It is not. But anyways, thank you guys. If you stayed with us for this entire program, Joe and I are actually going to be going on a little bit of a trip this weekend. And we're thinking about recording while we're out and about. So you're probably not going to get an episode tomorrow since you got one today. But we're gonna probably record sometime while we're out and about this weekend, and do special little episodes for you.
Okay, goodbye.
But yeah, that's it for now. This has been the officially unofficial Geek Channel. That's my cue to leave. My name's Carrie. This is Joe. This has been The Crow, and we'll be seeing ya. Bye!